Hey everyone, and welcome to this Dota 2 beginner's guide on how to play Lich position 4 and position 5. Lich is an absolutely fantastic support who commonly is played in the position 5 role, and one of the amazing things about Lich is his ability to do an incredible amount of nuke-based damage. As you can see by his roles, he is a support and a nuker. He doesn't all do too much else, but the idea around Lich is using his abilities, which are extremely impactful, to better your team in the long run. The major disadvantage to Lich currently is that his mana is very limited, especially in the early points of the game, and that his spells, especially since you often kind of pick all three in the early levels, are very expensive. His spells, Frost Blast, which is like an AoE burst of damage that can hit multiple enemies, Frost Shield, which can be used to protect yourself, allied creeps, or an allied hero, is very effective at crowd control and AoE slow and damage. And then you have Sinister Gaze, which is fantastic for actually pulling enemies out of position and making them very vulnerable to your team. And finally, his signature ultimate, Chain Frost, which will punish enemies that are out of position. His skill set is incredible. It's all magic based. However, what you need to understand is that the spells are very expensive. Frost Blast at level 4 is 175 mana. Frost Shield being 100 at level 1. Sinister Gaze 120, and then you're looking at finally Chain Frost at 200 mana. It's absolutely insane, and that is the major thing you need to deal with when you are a Lich. You have to deal with the outright mana costs and be kind of accustomed to choosing when you wish to use your abilities for maximum effect. What you'll also notice is that he has very little armor, which prevents Lich from effectively trading in lane. So in laning stages, when you are trading with your opposing position 4 or position 5, depending on which lane you are, you'll find that you're going to take more damage than they are, simply because he does almost no right-click damage and he has very little armor. He is not an effective trader without his spells. Now, the thing about Lich you need to also understand is that he's often itemized not with mana in mind. That is because he has an extremely high intelligence gain of 4.1 per level, which is amongst the highest in the game. That means that very early, basically in the mid-game, mana quickly becomes a non-issue for Lich, as his intelligence gain gives him an additional mana pool and mana regeneration. The mana costs early on can be offset if you choose with Arcane Boots, but realistically, Tranquil Boots are preferred alongside a Ring of Basilius, and we'll talk about items shortly as well. The major thing you need to know is that he is very squishy at 600 health. He has a limited mana pool at 363, although his intelligence gain is impressive. The core thing you need to understand when laning with Lich is that you cannot trade effectively with right clicks, although you should be throwing the right clicks on the opposing carry whenever possible. The major thing you need to know is that you need to time your use of your skills appropriately, or else you're going to quickly find yourself out of mana and more or less useless. Now, what we always talk about when we do these hero guides are essentially the picks and counters towards these heroes. As always, I always recommend that you have a layout for heroes or for particular roles that you're trying to main. If you're trying to gain MMR, you're trying to, improve your ability in the game, it's very important that you have an idea of how to utilize these heroes and which counters are kind of like an issue and which heroes you can be very effective against. Lich is in a weird spot in the current meta, and what you can find him with right now is you could probably ban someone like Anti-Mage. The reason for this is because Anti-Mage, once he initiates on top of Lich with Blink, Lich just dies. Right? Anti-Mage, especially with his counterspell ability and his inherent magic resistance, is a very difficult target for Anti-Mage and is probably the #1 ban choice if you are picking Lich. Alternatively, Bloodseeker is an issue because he gains basically haste and you can't slow him if he's experiencing bloodthirst. It basically means that if someone on your team is very low health, you can't slow Bloodseeker. Broodmother is an issue because your Frost Blast can bounce off her spiders and basically effectively be wasted. Dark Seer can provide opponents with haste, so you will not be able to slow them and effectively crowd control them. Huskar is very difficult to nuke down. Lycan, although he has wolves, the wolves will kind of eat up a lot of your bounces and not really be necessarily effective. And then you have Phantom Assassin, who's extremely mobile, can directly initiate on top of Lich and blow her up. Blow him up, I should say. Queen of Pain can blink away and avoid your Chain Frost, and also your mobility. Your mobility slows because they're not roots. Cannot affect Queen of Pain very effectively because she can just blink away and then slowly run away because, well, the blink offers her a lot of distance, much like Anti-Mage. And finally, Weaver has Coccia, which is very similar to, a blink in some way. Now, Lich is very effective against most illusion heroes, ironically. Heroes that rely on multiple units, okay? CK, it's very hard for Chaos Knight to initiate on top of Lich because if Lich casts his ult, it'll bounce across the CK's illusions, gaining damage and basically effectively wiping out his army and dealing a ton of damage to him. Lone Druid's the same. His Baron Lone Druid, if they're together, will take a ton of damage together, okay? Nature's Prophet has a lot of treants, and here's the thing. Chain Frost will wipe the treants very well, so you might not actually do a lot of damage to heroes as a Lich against a Nature's Prophet because you'll bounce off the treants. But interestingly enough, Lich's win percentage is extremely high against Nature's Prophet. Okay, so there's something to wiping out the Nature's Prophet army. You have Beastmaster with his boars and whatnot. Much like Lycan, they'll absorb some of the impact. However, Lycan is a little more of a carry-centric hero as opposed to Beastmaster, and Beastmaster won't be able to burst down the Lich the way the Lycan can. Batrider does not have the mobility needed. Chen has lots of summons that can be automatically destroyed and basically make him vulnerable as well. Naga, with her illusions being close together oftentimes, will basically have her illusion army wiped out, and she does not do the outright... like, Lich can deal with her. Lich can slow her, kind of move around a little bit, can kite her a little bit. Terrorblade, again, an illusion-based hero who may find himself in trouble, especially if he's Sinister Gazed and pulled out of position, so Metamorphosis is not made of value. Poof can make the Meeples vulnerable to Chain Frost. Arc Warden, his summons, if they're close together, can be impacted negatively, and Tiny has no inherent escape. So there's a whole bunch of things that Lich can do to counter many heroes, but the major thing you need to understand about Lich, especially when you're picking Lich, is that Chain Frost is an incredible ability that can punish heroes that are out of position. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a demo lobby here, and we're going to talk and show you guys how to utilize the spells of Lich, and we're also going to talk about Lich's itemization. Alright, so we're in the demo lobby here, and we're going to be discussing now the abilities of Lich. Now, before I get started, one thing worth noting is that we're going to talk about the guide I created for Lich, and it is the Beginner's Guide by Octavarium, and you can find it in the Dota 2 client. It'll have the entirety of the starting items, it'll have descriptions for each item to help you understand why you're using them and why they're being selected, including descriptions for optional items as well. I'll also include descriptions for each ability and a complete talent and skill build as well. Once again, it's Beginner's Guide of Lich by Octavarium, and I'll also include a direct link to the Steam Workshop page in the comment section and in the description in the event you cannot find it in the Dota 2 client. For some reason, some people can't find it, but it'll be in the description with a direct link that you can subscribe to. Now, let's talk about the first 10 levels as Lich. Again, using the guide, all will be described, but the way you use Lich is a little unique than most heroes. Most heroes, you choose one or two spells, to basically prioritize your leveling. With Lich, you actually level all three of your core abilities early. You start off with Frost Blast, you then take Frost Shield, and then finally you take Frost Blast at level 3. Okay, because the increase in damage is pretty substantial, it is an additional mana cost, but it's actually worth it. But at level 4, you actually do take Sinister Gaze. So at level 4, you will have a decent nuke in Frost Blast at level 2. You will have a Frost Shield that'll provide your carry or yourself with 30% damage reduction and a slow in the event you want to close down on an opponent. And you also have Sinister Gaze in the event that you need to use it to secure a kill or to save a carry or whatever it is. Lich does level all three skills relatively early, unique to most heroes. At level 5, you will be taking Frost Blast to level 3. At level 6, Chain Frost. At level 6, it's going to be important that you understand is once you have Chain Frost, you're going to want to start rotating to other lanes. You might want to move to another lane in order to take advantage of the idea of using Chain Frost to blow up an enemy team that's not expecting it, okay? Chain Frost, extremely valuable. You might want to open with Frost Blast or Frost Shield to slow them and prevent them from kind of spreading out and preventing the bounces from hitting each other, and then casting Chain Frost. From there, you will obviously be taking your Frost Blast. You're going to be taking that to level 4, and then you're going to prioritize Frost Shield until you get to level 10, at which you have a choice to make. Both level 10 talents are pretty solid, okay? However, I do recommend that as a newer player, you spec Frost Shield damage reduction. The reason for this is we're actually going to focus on taking Frost Shield upgrades throughout the talent tree. The reason for this is because games tend to go late in lower MMR brackets, and the result is that you often have 1 or 2 primary cores, your position 1 and 2, who are heavily basically reliant on carrying the game, and your Frost Shield can be a huge factor in keeping them alive and ensuring that they close out the game victorious. So I do recommend the Frost Shield, but if you really do want to do some additional damage, you can definitely go chain the Frost Blast cooldown reduction, Chain Frost damage, and Chain Frost elevated bounces. That is if you want to do as much damage as possible, but if you want to support your team as possible, you take Frost Shield damage reduction. In this case, you probably take Frost Blast cooldown reduction anyway. Then you take the duration of Frost Shield, and then you take the Frost Shield regeneration of additional 50 HP. But here we're going to take the Frost Shield damage reduction, okay? And of course, because we went up 1 level by accident, we will take the extra Sinister Gaze, which we do level afterwards as well. Our primary nuke is now complete. We got Frost Blast. Let me show you how Frost Blasts work. So basically, if you have a couple different heroes here, we got a couple axes here. I should have put someone else. We got axes. What you'll notice is that Frost Blast has a pretty good range on it, by the way. It's a pretty decent ranged ability, so it'll allow you to close down on some enemies that are escaping. It provides you with a burst of damage, and the primary target takes both the area damage and the primary damage, whereas any adjacent unit will just take the area damage. It's also very good because it provides a movement slow and also an attack slow. So it's very important that in a team fight, you try to cast it on the enemy carries because it'll slow their attack speed, which will make them less capable of dealing damage. So what you're going to see here, so if these guys are put kind of stacked together a little bit, and I hit them with a Frost Blast, you'll notice that the axe on the left will take more damage than the axe on the right, simply because he took both stacks of damage. He took the base area damage, he took the base damage and the area damage. But important as well, you'll notice that both are actually getting debuffed with slow and movement speed debuffs. Again, it's very important you use that on the enemy carry to prevent them from dealing damage. Okay, so it does a lot of damage. Its radius is a little tight, but it's a very good ability. Now, one thing that's worth utilizing is Frost Shield. Frost Shield has an even further radius, and hey, perfect example, you can actually cast it on creeps and buildings. And what it'll do, it'll actually prevent the amount of damage being taken by the building, also defend the building, and you can actually cast it on creeps as well if you want to help push out a wave. Okay? So bear that in mind. It can be used very defensively in order to reduce the amount of damage done to allies, heroes, and yourself. So let's say this axe initiates on me. I can actually double click this, do it on myself. It'll help me get away as axe is being slowed, and any damage he's doing is being reduced as well. Frost Shield is incredibly valuable. It can also be used in a way where, like, if you have an ally like a Slark, you can cast Frost Shield on the Slark. Like, let's say that, I want to kill this axe, okay? I initiate with the Frost Shield, and it prevents him from running away while I attack him. And if you cast it on a carry, like a Slark or, a PA or someone that can initiate on top of the enemy, they'll basically have this damage field where not only are they doing additional damage to the enemy, but the enemy is less capable of escaping your carry, okay? So the way it works is the Q, the Frost Blast, you want to cast on the enemy carry to reduce the amount of damage they're doing because of the attack slow. You want to cast Frost Shield on your carry to protect them from the damage that they're going to be taking, and also to slow everyone around them so that they can effectively deal more damage. So Q goes on the enemy carry, W goes on your carry. Okay, and again, defensively, the Frost Shield can be cast onto buildings and whatnot. Now, the amazing thing about Sinister Gaze, and I'll show you something here as well. I didn't want another axe. Damn it. Click the wrong button. Select enemy hero here. We are going to grab a Crystal Maiden. Let's drop a Crystal Maiden here. Hi, CM. We're going to level you to max here for a sec. We're going to give you a Freezing Field. Now, the reason why I bring this up is that Sinister Gaze is an absolutely incredible ability. It can be used to displace enemies. It can be used to, let's say, someone's TPing away. You can Sinister Gaze them, cancels the TP. Let's say a Crystal Maiden is ulting. You can Sinister Gaze them, cancel the TP. It is a channeling ability cancel, which can be incredibly valuable, okay? Incredibly valuable. But moreover, with Sinister Gaze, what it does is it allows you to pull vulnerable enemies out of position. So let's say you've won a team fight and these guys are all scared, right? And they're running away, but you want to get this Crystal Maiden, right? She's a little slow. She's not getting away. She's trying to run. You pull that Crystal Maiden in towards you. That whole time where she's being pulled, she's vulnerable. She's vulnerable. She can't do anything. It's forced movement, so your allies can basically attack them. Not only that, but you're actually moving them out of position. So what you can do is if Crystal Maiden finds herself, let's say too close to your tower, not quite in tower range, right, during the laning stage, you can actually pull her into tower range and basically take additional damage. Or let's say she steps into tower range, you can really punish her by pulling her and basically ensuring that the tower gets multiple instances of damage on her. Sinister Gaze can be used to punish enemies that are pulled out of position because they've been basically out of position in the first place, okay? Sinister Gaze, an absolutely fantastic ability. Fantastic ability, okay? Everyone loves Chain Frost. Chain Frost does so much damage. Chain Frost is one of the like most fun ultimates in the game. The way it's countered, however, is enemies have to know that when you're chain frosting, they need to spread out. So basically, if people are spread out, you'll notice that, okay, let's just actually, a lot of people don't actually read the description here. So you're doing 400 damage per bounce for a maximum bounce of 10. Okay, until level 25. Level 25, you can spec unlimited bounces, but you only get 10 bounces, okay? And you only get 10 bounces. Each bounce does 400 damage each at level 2, 250 early on, 550 later on. But the key thing is not only doing attack slow and movement slow, the movement slow is 65%, the attack slow is 65. That is a huge, huge slow for 2.5 seconds, okay? But what people often forget is that not only is the cooldown going lower so that you can actually cast the spell once per minute at level 3, the mana cost is gargantuan, but each individual bounce actually increases its damage. However, smart enemies will spread out. So if I do this and cast this, you'll notice that it is just at the limit. Oh, did she go invisible? Ah, she got knocked out of the way there. What you'll notice here is that, so these two are close enough together that they can bounce together. These guys are far enough away that it won't. So if I cast this on Crystal, on Axe, it'll bounce between these two for 10 bounces each, but it won't bounce over here. Now if Axe comes into range here, it'll actually bounce into them. So what often happens is intelligent enemies, once you cast this, they'll spread out. They'll spread out in order to reduce the amount of damage being done to them. And it'll prevent your spell from doing the maximum amount of damage. So you don't want to cast it when they're spread out. You want to cast it, and this is why it's so effective against enemies like CK, Chaos Knight, because when he ults and when he reality rifts, all his illusions are together. So they're like this. And then when you cast the spell, it bounces together very rapidly and does a ton of very rapid damage, right? And as you can see, it does more damage with each individual bounce. So that is how you want to use Chain Frost, and you often want to rotate with Chain Frost so you can hit unsuspecting enemies with it, okay? Chain Frost is great with, like, Mars's Arena because enemies can't actually run away, and then, like, they're stuck in the arena and it's bouncing across the arena. It's overall an absolutely fantastic ability, but you want to make sure you're casting it on enemies who are, in fact, grouped up, okay? That is the quick rundown of Lich's abilities, okay? And also later in the video, I will be showing you practical in-game examples of how I've utilized these abilities in-game. Let's talk about Lich's itemization. Lich's itemization is extremely straightforward, especially if you're relatively new to the game. Now, the starting items for Lich are relatively straightforward. These are what I go with every game. I go with a Tango, a Healing Salve, a Sage's Mask, an Enchanted Mango, 2 Clarities, and a Sentry Ward. That equates to just under 600 gold. Now you're thinking, Alex, there's some interesting things in there. You got a Mango? Hell yeah, I got a Mango. A Sentry Ward? Of course I'm bringing a Sentry Ward. The reason why I'm bringing a Sentry Ward is if you're in position 4, you want to block the enemy camp, okay, so that they can't pull effectively. If you're in position 5, you want to have a Sentry Ward on you in the event that they block your camp, which is very commonplace currently. You want to have that ward because you need to pull to effectively support your carry. You're also going to have the Sage's Mask. Why? Because let's take a look at our primary build progression. Your main item progression includes a Ring of Basilius early. You're starting with the Sage's Mask because Lich has a very limited mana pool. As I discussed earlier, Lich's intelligence gain is very, very, very high. So by the mid-game, mana becomes a non-issue. But until that point, mana is like Lich's main enemy. It's his main enemy. Mana is going to prevent you from casting damage-dealing spells and supporting your allies. So it's so important that you build towards protecting your mana pool, and you want to make sure that you're making good use of your spells and not burning the mana as well. Sage's Mask effectively almost doubles your regeneration early in the game, and then when you go to a Ring of Basilius, okay, it not only provides you with additional mana regeneration, but it helps your allies as well, so it has some bonus. So you will be building towards Ring of Basilius. You go with the Enchanted Mango, because the Enchanted Mango allows you to basically eat a mango, in order, it's like, oh, you know, my carry's in trouble. I need a Frost Shield. I'm short on mana. I eat the mango. It gives me enough mana to cast Frost Shield. Oh, the enemy's about to die. They're in trouble. I don't have enough mana to cast another Frost Blast. I eat a mango. I cast the Frost Blast. I secure the kill. Or, oh, I'm level 6. I'm going to rotate, but I don't have enough mana. I need to do a Chain Frost to take this enemy off guard. And you eat the mango, you cast your Chain Frost, and you basically, do the damage. So mangoes can be very valuable for Lich. But because he's a ranged support, it's kind of better to use clarities more often. I actually start with 2 on Lich because he's that mana intensive. And the result of that is basically you're going to be using the clarities, and you're going to basically be constantly regenerating your mana as you're doing pulls and stacks and as you're rotating and stuff like that, in order to make the best use of your kind of like off time as you move between lanes and move between stacking and pulling, okay? And obviously, the salve is for your carry if they get low in health, or for you if you need it, and tangos are required as well, okay? Let's get rid of these for a second. So those are your starting items. You're going to have, in your main kind of progression, you're going to start with the Ring of Basilius, and then you're going to move towards the Tranquil Boots. I recommend in the laning phase to actually take the Ring of Regen first, because of Lich's extremely low starting armor. You're going to want some additional regeneration, and also because you're building Tranquil Boots on a very mana-intensive hero, which I know you're thinking, Alex, why don't I just build the Arcane Boots? You could. I do recommend building Arcane Boots if you're building towards Aether Lens. Like if you really like Aether Lens, I recommend you go Arcane Boots into Aether Lens. That's the only exception. However, if you're not doing that in the main core item progression, I recommend that you do go Tranquils. Okay, you get the added speed, you get the regeneration, and also you buy the Windlace, and then finally, when you get enough for the boots, you have Tranquil Boots. You literally don't have to worry about your health anymore. You don't have to, hey, get away from my tower. You don't have to worry about, tangos or salves or anything like that. You're just buying some clarities as your intelligence continues to ramp up. And then what you do is you buy yourself a Glimmer Cape. Glimmer Cape is core on Lich for a number of reasons. First of all, it's extremely valuable because it helps you to save your allies who are in trouble, but most importantly, it allows you to save yourself. Lich has no inherent movement abilities. Oh, my tower's gone. This is basically as fast as he'll move throughout the game, okay? And he has Tranquils, which are pretty fast boots, right? But this is it. If a PA jumps on top of him, his choice is cast Frost Shield on himself and try and get away, right? But with Glimmer Cape, it allows him to go invisible and basically prevent the enemies from initiating on him, or if they do initiate on him, it gives him a moment to get away. It provides a ton of utility for his teammates as well. Once you go Glimmer Cape, Aghanim Shard is a must purchase. So let's talk about the Aghanim Shard for a second. The Aghanim's Shard gives you Ice Spire. Ice Spire is a fantastic shard ability, which, let's just actually show this off here. It allows you to utilize your Chain Frost in new ways. And what's interesting about it as well is that it provides a field of slow. I'm actually going to use 2 to show you a couple things about how the Ice Shard works. Okay, so basically, Ice Shard can be dropped. It has health. Enemies have to actually destroy it in order for it to lose its effect. Okay, but what you'll notice, hey, get out of here, get away from my guy. Okay, kill. Yeah, okay, thank you. Sorry, doing this live. I'm not editing this. Okay, no edits. We're doing this. Going all the way through here. Okay, so anyways, we have this. You'll notice that it drops. It creates a 750 range slowing field, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, the nice thing about it as well is you can actually cast Frost Shield on it, which gives you the ability to kind of impact people in the area. Moreover, you can actually use it as a bouncing mechanism for Chain Frost, but it'll only be bounced if another valid target's not in the area. Which means that if I put this in here, it's not going to waste bounces off the icicle. It's only going to go to the heroes because there's a hero nearby. All right, it's a very valuable component to what the icicle does. But let's say I move all these guys out of the way. We move them out of the way. There's only one target. If I cast Chain Frost, I hit him once, it stops. It's over. However, what I can do is I can do a combo with Sinister Gaze. So if I put the icicle here, and I cast this on an enemy, it'll actually bounce to the icicle and back to the enemy. Every time it bounces off the icicle, it counts as a bounce. Okay? Keep that in mind. It does count as a bounce, so it's only going to hit the enemy 5 times because it hits the icicle 5 times. But anyways, or 6 I should say because of whatever, math. Anyways, so the nice thing you can do about this, obviously the enemy is just going to run away. But the combo you can do, you drop, I'll actually do it again. Okay, get rid of this. Get rid of this. Hey, Axe, get rid of this for a sec. I want to show the combo properly. So the combo, if done properly, will look something like this. Okay, I'll put this here so you can see. Okay, get out of here, guys. I don't need you. The combo is this. Okay, you drop the icicle, Ice Spire, I should say. You cast Chain Frost on the enemy, and then you Sinister Gaze. So it'll look like this. And it prevents him from running away while he's getting bounced on. And by the time he can actually react, he's like, oh my god, I'm almost dead. Okay? So once again, the true combo on a single enemy, which is very, very valuable, is... Okay, get out of here. Okay, you drop the Ice Spire, you ult, you Sinister Gaze. I was a little too far there. But you get the idea, right? And basically, they're completely vulnerable. They're getting pulled towards the Ice Spire as it's bouncing towards them with Sinister Gaze in full effect. A truly remarkable combo. I will show you an example where I solo killed an enemy carry, literally doing that in a ranked game, because they really did not appreciate how much damage a Lich can do. Okay? Now, let's talk about the optional items. There's a few optional items you want to consider with Lich. This is the main progression. I really do think Ice Spire is worth getting every single game. It's that good. From there, though, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get items like magic sticks. You might need a magic stick at some point if you're against like a bristleback, a PA if you're in position 4, whatever it might be, magic sticks. And the nice thing about magic stick is that because you're support, like you really are kind of item starved, you don't have a lot of items, so you're probably going to have that magic wand or magic stick for the entire game. So it's going to be giving you a lot of value throughout the game. Veil of Discord's awesome because Veil of Discord builds from your Ring of Basilius, and it basically takes a crown which gives you additional attributes, and the recipe, although a little expensive, it does provide you with a lot of utility. Because what it'll basically allow you to do, it'll allow you to basically cast a field, a pretty big field in fact, which will increase the amount of magic damage. I should say not magic damage, spell damage. Okay, so like Quill Sprays from Bristleback, despite being physical, will actually still count to all enemies. So that can be very valuable and can basically amplify the amount of damage you're doing yourself. Okay, Veil of Discord, a great item. Force Staff, we always talk about Force Staff. Force Staff's a great item. It can be used to save you. It can be used to save an ally. It's an essential item against Slarks, Clockworks, and other enemies that can really hold you in place effectively with leashes, slows, and things along those lines. Okay? Agnum's Scepter is really awesome. What am I doing that for? Buy the Agnum Scepter. Agnum Scepter is awesome. Now, it is super rich, and it's unlikely you actually get to Agnum Scepter in most games, but if a game does go late, as is very common, what Agnum Scepter does, it actually makes Sinister Gaze an AoE, a legitimately big AoE, and this can be game-winning. Imagine being in a team fight and doing this. Right? Better yet, imagine being in a team fight and doing this. Right? Like you see the value. The Sinister Gaze on the Agnum Shard Sinister Gaze upgrade is absolutely amazing. It's incredible. It's just really expensive and hard to get to as a position 5 Lich, but it is so damn good. But it's an extremely expensive item, and it might be hard to get to in the vast majority of your games. But if you do, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, let's sell these off so we can make some more space here. So I do recommend you do go Glimmer Cape in all your games. So you will have Glimmer, which is great. But you might also go Aether Lens. Why would you go Aether Lens? Simply because it gives you significant attack cast range advantage. Okay, so let's just take a look here. So Mr. Axe, Mr. Golden Axe. So I want you to stand right on the fringe of... So that's the fringe of my cast range roughly. And then Mr. Other Axe, you go there. So I'm going to add the Aether Lens. and you're going to see that other axe here, okay, is going to be about there. So you're looking at like a pretty decent increase in range, right? Like that's a pretty big difference in range, especially if someone's getting away and you're trying to close down on them, right? It allows you to basically cast from further away, hit Chain Frost from further away, Sinister Gazes from further away. Like look at this Sinister Gaze attack, like range. That can really pull an unsuspecting enemy really far and out of position, right? So it's very useful, and the range on like Frost Shield is basically your entire screen. It's literally almost the entire screen. It is so far. Aether Lens allows you to basically cast your abilities from anywhere and stay safer, especially if you have opponents that can initiate on you very effectively. Aether Lens, a good item. And as I mentioned in here, if you are intending on going, like if you play a lot of Lich and you're like, you know what, Alex, I really like Aether Lens, I would recommend that you maybe modify the guide and change the Tranquil Boots into arcane boots, because what you can then do is you can disassemble the I'll show you here quickly. So let's say you don't have this, you have boots here, you're actually going to go towards arcane boots. You go with the arcane boots, you build them, okay, you use them, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to go towards your Aether Lens. You get the Void Stone first, you get the Aether Lens recipe, and then what you do is you disassemble your boots, and then you unlock the combining on your Aether Lens. And what happens is now you have the Aether Lens because you didn't have to buy the energy booster twice, and then you unlock the boots. Well, I shouldn't have these ones, and then you actually end up building your Tranquils anyway. Okay, if you really like Aether Lens, the cast range on a lot of Lich's abilities are generally kind of good, so Aether Lens is like a pure luxury item. It's nice to have, but like I tend to skip it in the majority of my games because there's just better items. Okay. But still, it's a comfort thing, right? It's a comfort thing. Khea's great because it gives Lich everything he wants. Additional mana regeneration, additional intelligence for an increased mana pool and mana regeneration. It gives him spell amplification, which basically means his Chain Frost and everything does additional damage, which is great, okay? If you want to buy it, you buy it. It's basically a passive thing. It just does a ton of work for you, and it helps a lot. It can also be disassembled if necessary, but you're never going to really use these if disassembled, okay? There's nothing really generally built into. If you have the Khea, you'll probably end up sticking with Khea. Aeon Disc is utilized if in the event that you are being initiated on and you're dying very rapidly. Aeon Disc basically gives you a strong dispel and gives you the opportunity to basically survive for those vital few seconds longer while your teammates come to save you, or you reposition, or you use your Glimmer Cape or whatever it is to stay alive so you can cast your vital and important spells. Finally, we have Ghost Scepter, which is important. I talk about Ghost Scepter all the time. It's basically a cheap version of Aeon Disc, and what it basically allows you to do, let's say your enemy jumps on top of you, you can use Ghost Scepter, and what it does is it prevents you from being attacked. You are vulnerable to magic, however. What you can also do is Ghost Scepter, and you can actually cast your Frost Shield. So he's taking the damage from Frost Shield, but it actually cannot impact you at all. So Ghost Scepter is a great item on Lich because it allows you to still cast and utilize some of your defensive abilities despite not being able to attack or be attacked, unless of course they can hit you with magical spells, which is problematic. And finally, at the bottom here, I do include your support items. Because you're a Lich, you're going to be buying Clarities nonstop. You might need Tangos, Salves. You're going to be needing to buy Observer Wards and Sentries. You have your Tome of Knowledge being a support you're going to pick up. And I do recommend you buy Smokes of Deceit and Dust of Appearance if you're against invisible heroes as well. Those are all the items. Of course, there's a million other items as well, but these are the core items that are important to Lich. And once again, you can find all of this in my guide, Beginner's Guide Lich by Octavarium, which will be linked below in the description and in the comments, and also will be available in the Dota 2 client itself. Now, let's talk about the in-game examples of how to utilize Lich in game scenarios. Alright guys, in this example, I'm going to be showcasing to you why we level all 3 skills as a Lich. So what you're going to see is I am doing the build. I got my Ring of Basilius. I'm working towards getting my Tranquil Boots done. In this particular lane, because of the speed of Leshrac, I decided to go my Boots' speed first. This is a little unique situation here matchup-wise. But I know that that the Wraith King is pinging the Lesh. He wants Lesh dead. This is where I utilize all 3 of my abilities. So we have Leshrac here. I'm going to slow the Leshrac by casting Frost Shield on my Wraith King. Wraith King sets up a stun. I cast Frost Shield on the Wraith King, which basically allows him to slow the Leshrac. I also cast my Frost Blast on the Leshrac, which acts as a damage boost as well. And what I also do is I cast my my Sinister Gaze, which pulls Leshrac way out of position and allows us to secure the kill. This Lesh never stood a chance. once again, once you see this three spell combo in effect, you realize how valuable all 3 spells are and why mana is so important. He's stunned, he can't get away, we do the nuke damage, and we fear him so that he absolutely can go nowhere. Okay, that is the utilization of all 3 of Lich's spells in order to secure a kill in the laning stage of the game. In this example, we're once again utilizing our skills to burst down an unsuspecting enemy in lane. I see that this Mars is low health. My Frost Blast, which is at level 3, does a tremendous amount of damage. We have the stun on the Wraith King as well, and now I realize that I'm not able to do my Frost Shield because I actually had to use it defensively a little bit earlier, but I have my Sinister Gaze. He's moving towards his tower, but Sinister Gaze pulls him well out of position, which allows the Wraith King to secure the kill and get the MMR. Or do I sneak this kill? I snuck the kill. But regardless, we got the kill because we were able to effectively utilize our abilities to good effect. And for some reason, oh, this is the TA. TA, that's on our team. Sorry, every time I see red, I get confused. TA was coming for a rotation, but we killed the Mars too fast. But once again, what you're seeing here is you're seeing very effective use of abilities to basically nuke and then pull the Mars out of position, utilizing Sinister Gaze to basically secure the kills as required. Let's talk about another in-game example. During the abilities section of this guide, I discussed the value of utilizing Chain Frost in addition to Ice Spire with Sinister Gaze, and you're going to see an example of it here. So I am the position 5 Lich. What we have here is Wraith King's in trouble. I have a Mars and a Leshrac. What I'm going to do is I put the Ice Spire here, I cast the Chain Frost. It's going to bounce between these two, killing one, and once he's available, I Sinister Gaze him, which allows the Chain Frost to bounce back and forth off of the 2, which secures me the double kill. Actually, it wasn't a double kill. The Phoenix stole it. It would have been a double kill, but you can see the value there. If I actually rewind a little bit, what you'll notice here is that very quickly both the Leshrac and the Mars were dead because of the utilization of Ice Spire in conjunction with Chain Frost and Sinister Gaze. Again, the Chain Frost ignores the Ice Spire because there's a valid target, but once there's no longer a valid target, it goes to the Ice Spire and kills the Mars as well. An incredibly efficient combo that you can use to find success in your games. In this example here, I utilize my knowledge of Lich to take advantage of this Riki who's unsuspecting that I'm in the trees waiting for him. I'm hiding in the trees waiting for the opportunity to take down this Riki. So let's take a look at what I do. I'm hiding in the trees, I'm waiting. Riki thinks he's okay. I'm waiting for the creeps to die because I do not want my Chain Frost to bounce off the creeps. Once the creeps are basically gone, what I do is I cast Chain Frost and I utilize Sinister Gaze to pull him back towards and take him down. Okay? That is a position 5 taking out a position 1. Let's watch it again. Riki is vulnerable. I cast Chain Frost on him. It bounces off the creep. I pull him into the tower range and I hit him with the Frost Blast. Again, a Riki position 1 hero being deleted by a position 5, effectively using their abilities from full health to 0, all because I understood the limits of my hero and he did not respect my hero at all. So that is a great example as to how you can utilize Lich's abilities to take advantage of unsuspecting players who really do not appreciate the amount of damage Lich is capable of. Anyways, guys, that's it for this guide. I hope that you found it helpful. And once again, if you want to get access to the guide in the game client, you can find it there. And it's called the Beginner's Guide to Lich by Octavarium, and it's also linked below in the description and in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching, and a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. Hope this guide helped, and I'll see you guys in the next hero guide for Dota 2.